Hare Krishna. In our video called How to Be Successful, we talked about sadhana being the vehicle to achieve success. In this video, we'll talk more about sadhana and what is real sadhana in its true imports. Some activities may appear to be sadhana, but they are just actually the semblance of sadhana. They are not true sadhana. Proper sadhana is not just an activity, but it is an associated mood. Sadhana, the practice, the action of a practice with the proper intention or mood and aspiration. Sadhana in Vaishnavism is done only for obtaining a spiritual goal. It is not for any kind of material pursuit. Real sadhana, it is for a spiritual aim. Even those who do sadhana for a spiritual goal, sometimes they aren't definite in what they want, and they do the different spiritual practices as a routine or inattentively, parrot-like, or they use the spiritual practices as a way to gain material results. They may even perform sadhana or spiritual practices following things like what is known as the ninefold limbs of devotion: hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, praying, going on pilgrimage, so many things. They may do these in relation to Krishna. If the intention, however, is not to achieve a state of what is known as bhav, bliss and divine love for Krishna, that is not real sadhana. Real sadhana has to have a determined goal, sadhya. Sadhya is the goal, the objective, and that goal needs to be bhav, otherwise it's not real sadhana. We talked before that if we want to do real sadhana, we need to know the goal. Sadhana is like an abhideya process. Sambandha is where we are now, our relation, who we are, where we are, and what is our goal. We need to know Sambandha, abhideya, and prayojan to do real sadhana. We may be doing the different processes or abhideya, but if we don't really properly assign the goal, our efforts can be wasted, or they can lead to secondary results or results that are contrary to devotional practices or our real objective. Real sadhana, it has a fixed goal. Srila Rupa Goswami describes that as Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhavasya sadhana bida nitya sadasya bhavasya prakrityam hridi sadhyata. Real sadhana is to achieve the state of bhav. Bhav is like perfection in one's spiritual ecstasy and specific mood of relationship with the divine. There are different kinds of sthayi bhavs or fixed, permanent, prominent emotions or moods of relationship and relationships towards Krishna. Each living entity has its spiritual bhav in a dormant state within it, and when that blossoms through devotional services, we can reach that state of bhav, which leads to prem, pure love. Bhav is described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami. Shuddha sattva vishesatma prema suryangsha samyubhak ruchibis kidrim ashrinya kidriso bhavam uchyate. Bhav is the first ray of the sun of divine love that comes upon the practitioner. That divine love is said to be an eternal, intrinsic part of the living entity, but it needs to be awakened. Prem directly cannot be contained within the body. It's like we cannot live in a fire in this human body. But the bhav is like that first ray of the sun of divine love. Prem itself is too powerful for this body. So we can taste that bhav, and that is like the first glimmer, the first ray or idea of our true spiritual nature and the bliss of our loving service and the bliss of this, and satisfaction that comes with our knowing our true self and being present in that. Shuddha Sattva is the plane of pure existence. So Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma, when the special love of the associates in Braj who are also in the similar mood or sthaya bhav as us, when that comes from that world to this world, then bhav develops in the sadhaka. And then when bhav comes, we realize our fixed or permanent relationship, our loving relationship, such as relationship as a servant or a friend or a parent or a beloved, a conjugal, or a paramour. When we realize this and start to serve in that, then the 8 symptoms of ecstasy or bhav will manifest on our bodies, such as hair standing on end, choking up of the voice, tears falling from the eyes, discoloration of the body, sometimes dancing in ecstasy, rolling about on the ground, laughing hysterically, without any concern for what people will think of us. The different spiritual ecstasies affect our senses, our sense of touch, sight, hearing, smell. And when it touches these senses, then it is like spiritual eruptions manifest. So in this way, bhav is, as we said, it's the first ray of divine love. And it comes from that plane of spiritual existence where the eternal loving associates of Krishna, they have these different bhavs or natural relationships and moods towards Sri Krishna. And when we are in the stage of sadhana and we progress, we start to feel an affinity for one of their kinds of relationships or sthaya bhavs. And we will start to pray for that sthaya bhav and try to follow under the wake or in the footsteps of their services, like how the Manjaris serve Radharani, how the Sakas play with the cowherd boys, how they play with Krishna and go out to graze the cows, how the parents like Mother Yashoda lovingly serve Krishna, give them their breast milk, cook for them, care for them, bathe them. Within these 5 categories of being like a servant, being a friend, being neutral, being like a parent, or being a conjugal lover, within these 5 categories, there are many other subcategories. But basically, if sadhana is not done to achieve the state of bhav, spiritual perfection, then it's not really known as sadhana. Real bhakti is performed by the spiritual senses once we are spiritually aware or enlivened. In the material conditioned state, we can go through the activities of devotion, hearing, chanting, remembering, done through the material senses, the body and mind. And at that stage, this can be, or is known as sadhana-bhakti, devotional service in practice before one has achieved perfection. It is spiritual practices linked with devotion, sadhana-bhakti, when it is done with the body, mind and senses. But these same activities or similar activities when done on the transcendental plane after the state of bhav, these become known as prema bhakti, pure loving devotion. In this way there are 3 stages: sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti and prema bhakti. When one develops through bhav bhakti, then one will transcend this mortal body. At the time of giving up this mortal body, then one will immediately attain spiritual body in Goloka Vrindavan. It is described when Narad Rishi obtained a spiritual body, he did not even realize when he left his material body. It was like 2 flashes of lightning striking at once. On one hand, he left the material body, and their hand, he entered the spiritual body instantaneously. And that is done through the transition of bhav bhakti to prem bhakti. It is so when we do sadhana bhakti, if we do it with the objective to obtain bhav, that is real sadhana bhakti. And through that practice of sadhana bhakti, we can obtain bhav bhakti, and then we'll start to experience divine love, and it will cause a kind of ecstasy to erupt within one's body and mind and senses. So, at the time of giving up the mortal coil, if we are really properly performing sadhana-bhakti, then we'll progress towards bhav-bhakti, and giving up this body will go to Krishna's abode. Krishna says, Yad gatva nanivartante tad dhama paramang mama. Upon going to my transcendental abode, one will never have to return to this material plane of exploitation. By remembering Krishna, remembering his associates, remembering Braj at the time of death, we can be transferred to his abode. And we need to remember him with love and devotion. And therefore we perform our sadhana bhakti. In that divine realm of Vrindavan, then we'll serve with prem, with pure love. So again, if we aren't doing sadhana with the aim of achieving bhav, spiritual perfection in our ecstatic loving mood, then what we are doing is not real sadhana, it is like a semblance of sadhana. We may even be doing the limbs of devotion, but if our objective is not clear or not right, if our goal is not assigned, then that is not real sadhana. It is just the semblance or the shadow of sadhana. Therefore we must fix our goal. We fix the goal, fix the sadhya, and then we can progress quickly on the path of sadhana. If the goal is not assigned, we may do so many different practices, so much different sadhana, but it is just a shadow, a semblance. The difference between the shadow and the substance is that the shadow will not give you the real substance. You can chase the shadow forever, but you will never reach the substance. Therefore, we don't want to chase the shadow. We want to go for the real substance. So, in this way, we assign the goal. To assign the goal, we need to develop sambandha gyan, knowledge, who we are, where we are, what are we doing, what is our purpose. And then, in this way, we can become successful in spiritual life. If we just do the semblance or the shadow of sadhana our whole lives, we'll never get taste for spiritual life. So we should try to get a little taste of spiritual life, of the goal, and that can be done through pure sadhu sangha, saintly association of pure Vaishnavas. They give us a taste through their own experience. So we'll continue on this topic in further videos. Thank you for your time. Hare Krishna.